Welcome back to the WGLEU Season 2 for 2015 and 2016. If you missed last week's action, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it was an incredible Super Week, actually. I'd lie, Oliver Maxfield. We are going to spoil a little bit later on in the show as we do recap, but we've had some chance to recover over the weekend, and we are now back here in the studio for Week 10, which is the second last of our normal weeks before we jump into the pre-playoffs.
Exactly. Only 2 more match weeks left, and we're ready to blast ourselves into those pre-playoffs, the online playoffs, and the finals. So we're just having 2 match weeks and 2 match days, show days in a week. Since we did 4 last week, felt like a bit of a marathon, but it was really enjoyable. Yeah.
Good times indeed, and we definitely got to see the ladder shape up just a little bit more, Ollie, and start to see a little bit of finalisation amongst these teams. This is the ladder here for you guys. You can see it there. Of course, it is Oops chilling up the top still, but only by a hair. Oliver Maxfield, Tornado Rocks, and Mats on Tanks trailing just behind. Yeah,
if Tornado managed to win against Out of Range, it would have obviously been them on top. But Out of Range did the biggest surprise in the Super Week last week with a 5-2 victory against them. And truly incredible stuff from a team that really languished for a lot of the season. But as you can see, it doesn't really help their results too much. Other than that, Mats on Tanks managed to defeat Ding. Probably the closest game we saw last week, I guess. Yeah. And Penta just continuing to have a bad season, I guess.
Continuing the slide down the ladder there at 10th place. We'll get to see them again later today and see if they can maybe pull themselves out of this slump and get away from that nasty little relegation zone. We were joined a little bit later than usual today by the lovely Melly. Now, Melly's had a bit of a day. Why don't you tell us exactly why you were late, Melly?
Actually not.
Tell the class.
No. Well, it's raining really heavily here in Germany around Cologne and in the outback of Cologne as well.
Wild, wild west.
And the problem is if you're like on the foot of a tiny hill and all that water flows down right into my horse's barn. So my horse was standing knee-deep in water. Which, yeah, what?
What kind of water, Melly?
I wouldn't really recommend to drink that kind of water, but it was not.
Well, let's just say like horses poo on the ground, yeah, and then when the water floods the whole area, you get this lovely concoction of poo water. Melly still has it on her britches.
Oh, that's not true.
Still on her britches. I'm telling you. She told us there's a big.
Oh, come on! I changed, and I took off my boots.
So that's all you changed?
Look, no, I have my shoes. Oh,
see, there it is. You almost saw the splodge of poo on her shorts.
No, that's maybe it's saliva.
Marinade. I don't want to know what you've been eating if that's saliva. But
I changed my boots.
All right. Anyway, so Melly, you're with us today, of course.
I'm still
Thanks
here.
for that story,
I made it. I won't miss this show for anything in the world. That's why I made it like.
Except maybe a poo water tsunami. Then we can maybe work something out.
Yeah, that was heavy. I don't want to do that again, please. But yes, I made it, and nothing gets me from my tanks. Keeps me from my tanks.
So let's obviously get into things now, of course. We did have a big Super Week last week, and there were some intense games. I'm not going to give you too much of a prelude to it. You can check it out, though, in our little recap video coming right up. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be back with you here on this Wednesday night for the WGLEU Super Week. All right, well, I mean, Papa now...
Gonna have to do that blind shot thing for the second time.
This could be high. Oh, he's done it! Looney Pablo hits the deck. What a shot from Papa Pavian. He's secured Utopia's victory. He's got his gun up in the air, prouder than a honeymooner hanging out of his window. And it's John Corleone now. Has 10 seconds to finish him off. What a beast! No information whatsoever for Papa, just a guess. And he's landed the shot, and he's done it. 3 seconds left. And Utopia are going to go 3-1. John is always going to be able to circle around. Desha knows he's done.
His driver's done.
Dinner is cooked.
His driver's down. John can't keep up with Desha.
Oh, brilliant stuff here. John doesn't actually have a first aid kit to deal with this here. He misses that shot. Desha now has a window of opening. He's going to go in for 2. 1, go for the second here. John's going to be off reload really quickly though. Desha needs to get back around the corner, and he does. This is perfect. This could be huge here. 5 minutes and 15 seconds left. Desha will have his reload up. 2 shots, and John will be dead. John is hoping to put some distance between him and Desha.
What gun is down there? I mean,
yeah, his gun is damaged. His drive is dead, so he's slow. He can't maneuver quickly, and the reason why that's so important is that he can't chase Desha around houses anymore. Desha's too fast. Also, Desha. Oh no! What was HG? Boys? It was HG. He's tracked John up though. One more shot will do it. Desha comes forward. One shot into the house. One more to finish it off. There it is. Utopia had done it. Silence should have this.
50 seconds reload with a double reload because he's actually Amarax and Lucky Blast is slightly faster. The problem with the FPT-15E is it's pretty fast off the mark, but it doesn't have the top speed to really catch up with that 50B. And 1 minute left on the clock. Lucky Blast just has to run.
Yeah, brilliant stuff here. Lucky Blast either runs away and reloads. This is pretty good for him. That's a risky decision though. Going down that 5 line means that there's a long period of time where he's vulnerable, and Silence will have the opportunity to take one shot at him. Hit the track. Do it. He's lining it up. Look at how long he's taking. Lucky Blast. Oh! Did he track him? Yep, he got him, but he's just around the corner. Silence now wants to reload. Beautiful stuff. That is why Oops one of the best teams in the league. And they finished it off 5-0. Good positioning right in the back corner. It's Stefan in the TVP. He'll be able to see this flank coming, but will it be enough? New multi-show. Guns are turning towards his Penta tanks here. Vitaline goes down to half health, and it's a good response from Kazna. They've got the damage across the line, and this flank from Penta has fallen in a heap.
New multi-show is so low right now, he really can't do anything about it. Highball will have the reload, but of course the fact that that 113 got Amarak doesn't help him, and he's got taken down, and Nexus is actually on reload on the hill, so that could be a problem.
Hyber now taking a lot of damage from New multi-show, needs to use that rock for a bit of cover. Vetso loading in. Pounce from Hyber towards New multi-show. That was an important frag to be getting. But New multi-show going to have to head back off the hill here, looking for Alien, and he does get him as well. Alien had the last shot though, 1 bullet left. Oh my god, look at this. The trap is set, but none of these tanks are yet springing out. No one spotted on the side of out of range, but you can see that they're getting ready. Look at this commitment. There's no respect play coming from Tornado Rocks. He's got to blow up in their face. There's the spots on towards the Annihilator and Luciquel, but they're going to have some company in just a moment. Here comes the rest of out of range, straight around the corner, and Luciquel and the Annihilator are going to go down. Kerov, the perfect bait. The Annihilator burns to the ground, and Kerov still alive.
Kerov still alive in that MX 3090. That's the Salt in the Rune. We're out of range, just right on the precipice of winning this match.
Kerov is still alive, and he's not only is he still alive, but he's getting damage done. Kerov, what a big player there. Seriously, managing to get the damage done. Tornado Rocks now down to 3 tanks. 5 still up on Tornado. Out of range, sorry, I'm getting excited now as Armageddon trying to push over the middle. Senti takes down Dino. Armageddon goes, what just happened? Out of range, a breeze straight through, and they will sweep Tornado Rocks 5-2. Armageddon, doesn't matter what he has to say about this, because it's not going to be enough. We see Senti coming over the corner. The Annihilator up in the background here as well. He's super low. He and the Armageddon, well, may as well be Armageddon if you're a Tornado Rocks player or fan right now. Out of range, get it done. 5-2, and that is the upset of the season. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? I have never, ever heard Oliver get more excited than that John Corleone versus Desha 1v1 situation. That was insane. And he almost fell off his chair. When they cut out the part when we were like,
I know,
oh my God.
I left in the part when we were like slapping each other afterwards, but they cut it out for some reason. Maybe
I don't think they would have understood it. They would have thought it was some weird tribal mating ritual. Like, it would have had no context there.
Exactly. They might have been like, what are these weirdos doing?
But
actually, one time I remember before that was the Povil versus Alien moment at the first grand finals. 2 AMX 5100s, that was pretty sick as well. Those are the 2 moments which really stick out for me in those big play moments.
So we had last week some.
That was just Wednesday and Thursday. I mean, that wasn't just last week. That was just the two latest match
even
days.
Monday has some incredible stuff there as well. Tuesday, maybe not so much, but still had some intense action. So that was 4 days of some of the best World of Tanks action we've seen. It's almost like the teams give us better action when they're obviously playing day after day after day. Yep. We were definitely getting into it, guys. So go back and check the VODs on our YouTube channel if you want to find out more about those games, especially that John versus Desha 1v1. Intense stuff, and you can hear us even out of range managing to take apart Tornado Rocks. Now that's something worth checking out as well if you want to see how a rookie team is deconstructing some of the top players here. But of course the scores from the end of last week were pretty varied, I guess. Thursday, this was that last day of the Super Week. It was, 2-4-5, so 2 tiebreakers and out of range in the middle. And like I said, it's a sandwich of awesomeness there. 5-2 for out of range. And the 2 games on either side were also quite good.
Yeah, 2 tiebreakers was really fantastic. I think we kind of got the results we expected with Wombats and Ding and Penta and Kazna. But Out of Range and Tornado Rocks was something which we never expected. Truly great match day on Thursday, probably the best of the season so far in terms of overall quality. And I hope, well, the next 2 match days are also going to be equally as good.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The games to come tonight, though, we do have a couple nice ones in the mix for you guys on the back of that Super Week, and now heading in towards our last couple weeks of the season. Kicking up with a cracker, of course. Our first game of the night is going to be Synergy versus Rusty Roster. 2 teams that have been up and down. Rusty Roster more down than up, to be fair, but still an important game. And, I mean, as we go through, Ollie, as well, some big rivalry there in that second game.
Yeah, that's really going to be a big game for a lot of people. I guess the 2 newer kind of teams, the 2 well-performing new teams, and Oops and Kanaka Broad know each other very well. Have to see exactly who's going to come out on top. Of course, Oops sitting in first place right now, so technically they could, but we've seen more weird stuff happen this season. Penta, Utopia, I mean, I do feel sorry for Penta. I see so many moments of brilliance with that team, but they just haven't put together a good season so far, and that happens sometimes. You have to shrug it off and do the best you can with the situation you're in.
So Penta Sports and Utopia, it's 10th and 6th there as well. Still chances for Penta, although they're getting slimmer and slimmer, to still get into that top 6 now. It's looking unlikely that they'll be able to steal it away like they did last season. So things a little bit more complicated for them this time around. It's just been an average season, to be fair, and I think they'll agree with us on that one. So unlucky for them. But of course, we head direct trajectory, of course, to our first game of the night. Let's talk about Synergy versus Rusty Roster here. 8th versus 11th. It's not been a great season for Synergy either, who had fashioned themselves at the start of Season 1 as a top contender. This season started off rocky. They lost Stalker. They made some changes. Obviously, John Corleone now being in charge for this season, and it doesn't seem to have really helped their prospects much at all.
No, I think they've got the players there now, but because they've made so many roster changes, it's obviously caused issues, and they're still trying to work those out. I think with Synergy, when everything works really well, it works perfectly. Everything goes fine. They win like a 5-0, 5-2, 5-1, and it's great for them. But when stuff goes a little bit shaky in the first few rounds, they just go downhill really quickly. But Rusty Roster, on the other hand, I mean, yeah, they've just had a really poor season. They're definitely trying to get themselves out of that relegation zone right now.
Yeah, again, I mean, this is a rookie team coming into a bit of a tough season, but we also have a rookie team on the top of the ladder. So read into that what you will. Melly, I'm sure that the votes for this game are open in a few moments here, because we are always interested to see what people at home think about their teams.
Absolutely. So head over to facebook.com/WGLEU and get yourselves involved. The vote is already up and running. We already have a few people actually voting. And yes, it's very, very one-sided. It's 92% for Synergy in this moment. So 8% for Rusty Roster, which is very, very few. But let's see how the vote goes over the course of the next 2 maps, because that's the amount of time you have to participate. By getting involved, by voting for your favorite team, and then predicting the exact scoreline for this matchup, just have a wild guess. That's the only hint I can give you, because sometimes getting in early, guessing something wild does the trick, because the 3 first correct predictions will be rewarded with a bonus code containing a Großtraktor, 3 days of premium, and 500 gold, if I'm not mistaken, and of course a garage slot, because you need somewhere to park that tank in, which is hopefully not flooded.
I think you need a tank for your stables, to be honest, to get through that kind of stuff.
We actually had like we have a barn truck called that way with
Tractor?
like a mini version of a tractor. So
Okay.
it has like a shovel and
mover.
a claw.
Oh, okay,
so
right.
we just went through and then shipped everything out.
I think you should roll up to the office in that sometime. I'd love to drive it.
It's not allowed on the highway.
Roll straight through Ralph's office.
It's actually pretty cool. It's red. It has really big tires.
Yeah.
It had headlights. It looks good, but nothing you want to drive on the streets. But yes, people, as said, the vote is open. Get involved, and also use that hashtag WGLEU over at Twitter to tell us what's on your mind. If it's horse poo related or maybe tanks related, just fire away. I read everything, and I love reading from you. Oh boy, I feel some memes coming up. But yes, I'll leave that up to you guys. And of course, at WGLEU is the Twitter page you maybe want to follow, because if you have to go throughout the evening, which is of course really sad, because you will definitely miss some great tank action here, we will keep you updated via live tickers, so you still know what's happening on our service.
Easy enough, ladies and gentlemen. So plenty of ways to keep yourself involved in the action. Let's though see what these team captains had to say about this one as well, because they would be aware of each other, no doubt of it, although rolling in sort of different sectors or spheres of this ladder. Let's hear what both representatives had to say before this match.
I think Rusty Rooster it's hard enemy because it's new and they can give us a new tactics and show something very good, and I will be really surprised if we win this match.
Match with Synergy will be very exciting for us because they are an experienced team, but we think we play on similar level and we can really put up a good fight with them.
So there you have it, Oliver. I think even Synergy expecting, or at least anticipating the possibility that they might see something different from Rusty Roster here.
Yep.
But if you had to sum up Rusty Roster's season in maybe 1 or 2 sentences, how would you put it?
Can I say one word?
Yep.
Bad.
Yep. I thought you were going to say something else. But
No, it's been pretty bad. I mean, at the start they had that one win, and we're like, hey, Rusty Roster's going to be a good Polish team. But I mean, I felt like they've had. I know they've had some lineup issues, some rust issues, and they just had a bad start. They couldn't keep together as a team, and it's clearly hurting them. And I think they're at that point where ASAP was last season, where they've had so many bad results that they're kind of thinking, well, let's just tie the season over. Let's get it done and dusted. Let's get out the relegation zone, or let's try and win those relegations and just stay in the WGL. But forget about season 2.
So it could almost be practice for relegations here if you're thinking that way about Rusty Roster. Or maybe they have something else planned. Going by tank picks here as well. I mean, double 110 E5 here for Rusty Roster. Although not, by this point, Oliver, neither lineup really looking that crazy different.
No, not at all. And obviously Himmelsdorf coming up first, so to be expected. I mean, Himmelsdorf, one of those city maps which stuff doesn't really get switched around too much. I mean, it was the same in 754 when we had those IS3s and 5100s. Now it's all about the FE215Bs, AMX50Bs, and 113s, of course, you can see. But yeah, Synergy needs to start working its way into the season. I think they've shown some real brilliance, but just inconsistent. I mean, that's always been Synergy's main problem, inconsistency. They do well sometimes, they do really terribly some other times. And last week against Utopia, they just got worn down towards the end of that match.
Yep. Yeah, the time. I mean, well, on the back of a lot of 1v1 sort of stuff there as well. Individual play was a linchpin for those games here. But let's see now if it's going to be the case here in Synergy. Let's see if Rusty Roster can stack up pound for pound against Synergy, or whether Synergy are going to be able to overwhelm. It's a couple of spots coming out here for Dreamlike, and it's Lucky Blast and Persista being spotted on that D line, which doesn't say a whole lot, because the main force of Rusty Roster are actually gravitating over towards the hill, or at least it's Figo sitting back now. When you're putting a 110 E5 up towards the hill, there's a degree of commitment in that. It's not a super fast tank. Synergy actually has the majority of their force up here too. So, I mean, if Rusty Roster have tried to read Synergy's movements, they've done so fairly well. There's no spots on towards that 8-line little hull down spot there for Synergy. So no one's holding that corner. Polswed has to be careful. It'll be a rude awakening for him now if he does hull over the top. But Synergy are keeping back. They're still on the south side of that the castle up the top, so Polswood probably has a bit of time to get away. You can see that scout now coming forward. It'll be Happy Bubble, I think, in the 1390, just to try and spot. You will see Polswood. Is it going to be enough to... no, Polswood won't come up after him, but it's enough for Synergy to start moving here. And they're going to be heading straight down that hill, but God knows what they're going to run into here. Rusty Roster have 4 tanks ready, but not all of them.
Well, they're not peeking around the corner, that's the thing, because if they were, then it would be Synergy just to stand back, but Synergy's just going to push straight forward, try and take care of Polsved, but of course Rusty has some support in the background.
That's right, Lucky Blast and Figo on the 50Bs are going to be there. And look at the focus towards Crespix and Mihailov. You can see that Waffentrager, RV100, taking a heck of a lot of damage here, and Polsved is low, but he's sustained through a heck of a lot of this damage, and the first blood actually going to go over towards Rusty Roster, although it's quickly traded back as Polsved does finally fall. And you can see the side shots coming in here. Prosto and Panachin can catch some tanks as they do go forward. They're looking for Figo as Lucky Blast has already fallen here. it's going to be a messy one here, but Rusty Roster are definitely losing out in the health point trades at this stage, and now the Batchat is going to get involved. Dreamlike as well, going to get some of those shots towards Basister, and again, the 110E5, if it's not hulled down, it's pretty easy to punch through on the sides.
Yeah, definitely. It's a weaker tank on the sides, and it's small. It's quite easy to maneuver around. But Synergy is now quite far ahead in this game, even though they had no respect, just pushed straight down that hill. Even though Rusty Roster was there, they still got the overmatches, still in the better positions to get these firefights.
So we're seeing a reload cycle now for the 50Bs. It was actually just Figo left there after Lucky Blast fell early, and he goes down. So Synergy done their job by getting rid of that 50B early on in the piece here. They still got a Batchat up and a 50B of their own. No, they don't. Sorry, it's a Batchat. So they can still do work with this now. Sojek pushing out, and it's Rusty Roster really starting to lag behind, only with 3 tanks left. And Synergy just making the right call. Really, they had all their tanks in the same spot. They managed to focus their fire down to a reasonable degree, even though they did lose the E100 first. And Sojek, the last man standing in the 251.
Yeah, that man in the 251 has been, you know, at the beginning of the season, probably one of the metaphors for Rusty Roster's success, and now at the end of the season, one of their deficits, because he was so good. He was the guy who was getting 3,500 damage on this map.
Yep.
Great, but now he's just not hitting the shots. He's not playing particularly well in the RU251. But that's Rusty Roster in general. So pretty standard first round here for Synergy, coming off that hill, getting the overmatches as easy as you like. And of course, Rusty Roster at the beginning, they're doing good. They're doing good damage, getting that Waffenträger FE100 down. But I mean, ultimately, they weren't brave enough to go all the way into that firefight. Synergy played it smartly with having some tanks in the background on top of that hill, just getting shots down against those other tanks pushing around the corner. So at least they were kind of pressured to go around and stay back instead of going forwards and actually killing the rest of Synergy, which are pushing down the hill. So yeah, good first round here for Synergy, I think.
I don't really think it was rocket science, Oliver, as you've sort of just surmised for us there. Just pushing with all their forces down the hill, Synergy and Rusty Roster had to come in waves. That was kind of the problem. They didn't really ever have their whole force firing together at once, whereas Synergy had a good battleground for that kind of thing, especially catching that 110E5 out on his own. Though the 50Bs in reserve were a pretty good idea here, but of course the FE215Bs of Rusty Roster weren't able to get involved until Synergy pushed further forward. So that's Figo there. He's obviously the later surviving 50B who got obviously an extra reload cycle in. Did do a heck of a lot of damage here, but we can see the brawlers, the FE215Bs pushing down here for Synergy, topping the charts.
Yeah, as expected, and you know the AMX50B great at doing the initial damage, but if you want to sustain through that 2.5k of the FE215B, you definitely need to be having some of your own single shot tanks, and it's not really what they had. They had no Panacerium there in the FE215B, and they needed more. So yeah, first round going towards Synergy convincingly. Second round now coming up. Obviously going to be the old switcheroo where Synergy now are going to be on the defensive side, technically the slightly easier side on Himmelsdorf. And it's going to be Rusty Roster in the attack. And just having a look at that first round, it seemed to me that Synergy's confident. They know what they want to do. I think for them, they still have a slight chance of being an 8th. They have a slight chance of going into the top 6. Of course, the biggest obstacle for them to overcome is that, you know, when you're sitting in like 7th and 8th, I think you have around 12 points or maybe even less. And if you're where Kazner is in 6th, then you have like 15, 16 points. You know, you need to win at least 2 matches
Couple games
and
clear.
not expect Kazner Crew to win a single match in the next 2, which could be possible considering their recent form. But you know, they really need to be performing.
And Synergy have already tested their mettle against top 6 teams in recent times, and the most recent of that being Utopia, where it was very close, but they lost those points to Utopia. They managed to get 1, of course, but not quite enough really at this stage of the season here. So clean wins are the order of the day for Synergy. Let's jump into this second round now as well. Bringing the TVP VTU. So that's be interesting there as well. The double Waffenträger Alpha 100 though, and a Waffenträger, like a Borsig, should I say. So interesting from Synergy, very heavy on the tank destroyers. And we'll have to see now exactly what that looks like on paper as we do roll in with Sojek, the 3090.
Interesting pickup that they've gone for the TVPTU, the tier 8 version. But I don't think they have, considering it's not on my screen here.
No, it's the 5051, so they might have misentered it.
Yeah, I think they misentered it. I was wondering, I mean, that's not a tank we've seen so far, that tier 8 Czechoslovakian. I was thinking it doesn't really make much sense. It's just a single shot tank, not particularly special. But yeah, so looking at this, I mean, Sojek just going for the early spots down that 1 to 3 line, but Synergy, I think, are just going to hold the standard kind of defensive lines on this map. They've got the Waffenträger for the hill and the corner surprises. The 113 hull down, of course, from Mielov playing that one. Probably one of the most consistent, if not the most consistent player for Synergy. And I think they're just going to be holding fast. I mean, Rusty Roster got a couple of tanks on the hill. The FE215Bs were just sitting around that corner, making sure they weren't going to get spotted through the middle. But now they're heading towards the 8 line.
Dreamlike will be lying in wait as well. So it's not just the 113 there, Mihailov to be watching. Also the Waffentrager that can pop out and really devastate enemy tanks at a moment's notice. So 2 there for Synergy on that 8 line, really definitely investing towards it. Socek managed to spot Luti Pavlo actually early on. So they know that there is an FE215B over that side of the map. On the western side, that is. It wasn't Luti Pavlo, sorry. I think it was actually John. Yeah. So Socek still doing a bit of scouting here as well. No blood drawn yet. Almost 2 minutes in here. Rusty Roster still not sure. Not a big commitment towards the hill. A fair bit towards the 8 line here as well. Maybe hoping for some protracted engagement sort of from that G line across. You see Panachin is actually looking down towards G3, which is a common spot to see enemy teams on that defensive side push into. You see Panachin watching it like a hawk there, but also he's looking at the little gap between the buildings as well, because over at G2, you can shoot through on towards the G line. Very cheeky little spot, but teams are aware of it by now.
Yeah, they are very much aware of every single spot on this map. It's definitely the most played map throughout all the seasons. And yeah, it looks like the F line, the 8 line is actually going to be where the push is coming from. I think we're just waiting for Rusty Roster to put that last 50B, I think it is, onto the hill, or FE215B. And then there's probably going to be a push from 2 corners. Push up that 8 line, go for that engagement against Waffentrager, maybe send an MX-3090 through the middle since they haven't put it up on the hill yet. And just try and wear Synergy down. And I think that's probably the better idea. Because they know Synergy's got the Waffentrager, the Rheinmetall Borsig, because and they know where it will be, because it's a great camo tank. You can sit it up into C2, you won't spot it for ages, and it'd just be impossible to cap. And of course, with a big caliber gun, it can definitely splash.
Oh, there it is. Dreamlight poking his head out, and Polswed feeling the brunt of the first shot coming in. Some damage at least being done back towards Dreamlight. Actually, good damage here from Rusty Ross. They got a lot on the 8 line to punish the Waffentrager Alpha 100, but still, Polswed is a 1 shot. But Dreamlike falls first. Yeah,
the Waffentrager just does a good amount of damage there. I think you can't really argue with that. But the thing is, I mean, Mielov wasn't aggressive in that situation. He wasn't really helping his Waffentrager. So Rusty Ross definitely came out ahead in terms of having all their tanks alive. Does count for a lot, and Sojek is in the middle, down to a 1-shot now, and the MX-3090 should be able to go forwards and safe. Very close to getting taken out there. Yeah,
Mihailov getting pushed here. He took a couple shots from the top of the hill. I think it was a TVP. And now he's going to have to go 2v2 against Panachin and Prosto. But look at Persistra and Lucky Blast. Great timing coming in from the right. They're going to combine 4v2 here and just make short work of these remaining tanks. It's Happy Bubble, though, going to hold down for as long as he possibly can. But every tank that's not a Waffentrager goes down. Every time one of those goes down, that's another tank that can't defend a Waffentrager. So Crespix wants to be impactful and important here, but he's going to struggle to do that when he's going to be focused down. You can see Persista coming around the corner. Crespix is making everyone pay for showing their noggins, but he's going to run out of shots soon. Socek falls. That was a 1390. Prosto forces Crespix here, and Panachin and Persista have been stopped in their tracks. So for a moment, that 4v2 for Rusty Roster was looking really good, but now they've been slowed up a little bit. It's a 4v4 situation. John's going to come close. He wants Panachin, but actually Mersky will finish him off. He'll duel out with Persista. He'll probably have the first shot here. He should be able to get the finish, and Lucky Blast is also on site now. He's getting involved. Luti Pavlo is back there as well on the Rheinmetall Borsig. Back and forth stuff here with 3v4 Synergy. Do have that advantage, and John bouncing that shot. That's a huge boon. He should be able to go forward to get the finish. Crespix caught out of position here while he's on reload, and Figo will finish him off.
Yeah, he will, and I'm actually pretty surprised that Rusty Roster is still in this game, considering Synergy managed to use both their Borzigs effectively. They both managed to make all their shells pretty much. So they are playing pretty well, but it's a 3 versus 2 situation. Lucky Blast is a 2-shot. John's a 1-shot, of course. Luti Pavlo's a 1-shot. So I think for them, I mean, they just need to be using their resources correctly. Figo needs to be going to these exchanges, but he just doesn't have that damage to take down Mersky. And he does need Lucky Blast there in the background. But of course, you've got Luti Pavlo in the background, the brilliant Ukrainian player. You've got John there, the team captain for Synergy, who's not the best clutcher in the world, but he should still be able to hit his shots.
Between these two, though, you've got 4 shots, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage. Almost enough entirely, actually, to wipe out Synergy here. Probably just falling slightly short of that. No, actually, no, they got enough between those two. 1 clip of each, and it's going to be good night for Synergy here. But they're not going to line up for them. That's the problem. And Rusty Roster, ladies and gentlemen, they still have to come forward. They can't sit like this. So at one point, they're going to have to make some sort of move. And if they don't focus Lucky Blast down, they could be in trouble. But, you know, he's quite low. 2-shot for him. Figo wants to probably absorb some damage that would otherwise be headed in Lucky Blast's direction. We do see that Synergy don't actually have any autoloaders left, so the amount of damage available in a pinch for Rusty Roster is maybe 2 or 3 times higher.
Yeah, exactly. They've got so much burst damage in that situation. But the onus is on Rusty Roster to go forwards. They are on the attack on this map. Those two need to combine and have some sort of way in here. But of course, they're stuck in that corner. If they go up the 0 line, they'll get spotted. Synergy will be able to, just set up defensively for any other position, probably a push through the middle or the left side. And, I mean, there's not really that much they can do because of the way Synergy is set up, and it's going to take them a long time as well if they do go across the hill. Synergy playing it patiently. Obviously, they don't want to go forwards, and it looks like Figo and Lucky Blast are going to bite the shell, just go along the A line, try and go in for a kill here. But you can see immediately Lucky Blast getting spotted by Luti Pavlo in the Borsig, so it might be a little bit of time. They have a potential with Figo, but
The big gun
they need to take care of Luti Pavlo straight away. He's a one-shot.
And he has no hull down opportunities either. He doesn't have a turret.
No, exactly. I mean, he has no proper turret, and he can get penetrated. It's very, very weak, that Borsig. You can just load HE, but yeah.
I think Lucky Blast is a one-shot to him, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
with the larger caliber gun on that.
Yeah, the 15 centimeters. So he will be a one-shot, 750 damage. But Lucky Blast's going to peek. Ooh, Luti Pavlo hasn't been spotted.
Camo rating.
But it's a Borsig for you right there. And yeah, I think Rusty just need to go for this.
Oh, I don't know, man. Luti Pavlo can line him up. I mean, that gun on the Borsig isn't as accurate, I think, as a 12.8 or the lower caliber one that the Borsig has. You can see Figo going forward here as well. So he has to absorb a shot somewhere along the line. And I mean, from Luti Pavlo, probably not the ideal person, but I have to see what the plan is going to be. It does look like they're going to go forward. There is obviously the bonus of having the Waffentrager Alpha 100 hull just ahead here. So Figo can come forward. You can even start the cap here. And there's a lot of protection from that hull being there. Figo doesn't really want to hull down, though. He wants to put pressure on. He can cap here. There's still just enough time for that to be done. And Lucky Blast is going to watch his rear. So this is pretty good, actually. We're going to see Synergy are going to be forced to come forward now towards Figo. Lucky Blast will be there to try and catch a flank. Now, Mersky has enough to finish Lucky Blast. So Lucky Blast probably won't get a full clip in Mersky before he goes down. It's a pretty fast-firing tank, the FE215B. So Lucky Blast moving up to the corner. Probably inadvisable, in my opinion. I would be waiting for Mersky to push here, but he's going to see him in a moment anyway. And John moving up together with him as well. So it's going to be pretty painful for Lucky Blast. He's going to back away. The shot not connecting for Mersky, but it's been enough to draw Figo away. What he's going to do now, I'm not really sure. Might try and chase after. He's going to get shot immediately. Double tap towards him. He doesn't quite have the damage. He wants to finish off John, but Mersky blocking those shots expertly. And Lucky Blast, they're just going to unload now. Those autoloaders starting to do work. Mersky low, but that is devastating. Lucky Blast falls. Figo wasn't able to soak the damage up. It's a higher profile tank, the 50B, and it took the shot and it bought the farm.
Well, the thing is, I mean, Figo can technically win this one in terms of damage he can do if you combine all the Synergy. I mean, 1,280, and they're at 1,113. So he does need to play it correctly. He's still got some HP to play around with. So it's a possibility. But
Mersky's a two-shot. That's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. He has to go for Mersky first. But Luti Pavlo is quite far away, and of course he can just draw it.
Yeah, I don't know. Figo there bouncing that one is going to mean that he's pretty much done. He might be able to finish Mersky, but John will be able to come forward. Won't get the shot, but with 15 seconds left to get the damage done. It's not enough time for Figo. He won't even be off reload. And Luti Pavlo has headed for the hills, and he'll just be taking his time on that side of the map. He will stay alive. A very close one here, Oliver, going all 10 minutes. But Rusty Roster not able to break through here against Synergy, although getting a little bit dicey at some points here. That's attacking side Himmelsdorf for you in a nutshell.
Exactly. I mean, we saw what happened. I think Rusty Roster did a good job of getting some initial exchanges, but they lost a lot of HP to the initial Waffentrager push on the 8 line, and then they had a second Waffentrager which executed perfectly, just waiting around that corner. Rusty Roster a little bit impatient, just pushed around, got taken down pretty low by the FE215B and the Waffentrager. I think they should have just stayed back, held their ground, gone around the other side towards the hill, and just found a more awkward angle onto Synergy. But they walked basically straight into two Waffentragers. They lost so much HP, and that obviously kind of slided the game in towards Synergy's favor. They could hold the defensive positions. Both teams sitting around the same HP. But of course, Synergy were in the better positions. They could hold them, keep them at bay.
And that essentially is the defensive side advantage here as well. I mean, what do you think, Oliver? If, we saw at one point that they were going for a cap, they pushed Figo forward. He had some protection from the hull of the downed Waffentrager Alpha 100 on that corner. Should Lucky Blaster have sat back in the 50B and just tried to hold that situation and maybe force at least Synergy to come to them? Do you think that's more a higher percentage strategy or approach?
Yeah, I mean, they're both risky strategies. If that TVP is just sitting there, of course, Lucky Blast would have had to stay in defense. But I was more expecting Figo and the TVP, Lucky Blast and the lower HP tank to be in the cap and have Figo somewhere on the hill or whatever so he can support that 50B from basically every angle. But there was a very small amount of room in the cap where that wreck was. That's how I would have played it personally, but you want to have your least important tank in the cap. If you lose it, it does not a massive difference. Figo's still on the hill; he can still play around with the hill positions. But anyway, that was Himmelsdorf. Really, it's pretty standard Himmelsdorf for both these teams. Synergy now 2-0 ahead. Our next map is going to be Steps. So actually, we saw quite a lot of city maps. I mean, last Thursday, I think, Thursday we saw just Ghost Town, Himmelsdorf, a couple of iterations of Ruhenberg, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, Dink picked Steps once. That was the way they got both rounds against Wombats on tanks. He looked pretty rusty there.
Yeah, it looked pretty bad, yeah.
It's not a popular map. We're not seeing it being picked a heck of a lot lately. Actually, even less than Ruhenberg is being picked because it's less of a 1-1 and more of a 2-0 to whatever team picks it because they come in with some kind of strategy. Just want to highlight for you guys as well, we did see the damage count back. Crespix at about 3,400 damage. That's one clip of what a Waffentrager can do. If you nail every shot, that's one reload cycle. So even worse, when we see Waffentragers get 2 reload cycles and getting about the same amount of damage, you can see just how devastating it is when you hit every shot.
Have we had that before?
No.
I don't think we ever see one Waffentrager get 2 reload cycles.
No, well, we have, but not penetrating every shot.
Yeah.
Because that's 10 shots that are landing at average about 600 odd, give or take. So that would be the highest damage we've seen. We see 5.4k is probably about the highest we've seen. But that's how devastating those can be. But we're not going to see any on this map, Oliver. It is Steps, so not really a great idea to be bringing one of those tank destroyers in. However, we will be seeing some artillery here piloted by Figo.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of the M40, M43 over the last few days. I've got a lot of, if you look on my account, Laughter, I've got a lot of battles on it, but I completely forgot how to play it, considering I had the T92 anyway. But it's a weird one. I mean, seriously, you don't have to aim with that vehicle. It's so inaccurate when you aim. There's no point of doing it. So you might as well just click and hope that you hit something.
In the vicinity, you don't even actually aim at the tank. Just
I mean, because I think it's Caucasian or something that the Formula Wargaming uses to define how many shells go towards the middle of that reticle. So there's always a chance if you're going towards the middle of the reticle, like 1 in 3, 1 in 5, 1 in 10 chance or something. So just click.
Like a Sigma distribution.
They changed it recently. I'm not actually sure what they did, but I think they reduced the chance of it going towards the middle of the reticle. At some point, it was too accurate, and people were just sniping too much because you hit the shot so easily. But yeah, I mean, for instance, sometimes when I play in that tank, I'm aiming towards the left of the tank. I'm aiming in the middle. It moves back, but I've already clicked. But the shell just goes straight into the middle of the tank anyway because of the distribution of the accuracy. So that's why the teams pick it. It's inaccurate as hell, but at 1,850 average damage with only 8 tier points used can actually be pretty effective.
And I mean, by the same token, teams kind of have to sit still a lot here as well, especially on Steps. So we'll see, exactly how impactful Figo can be here. Persist the guy on your screen now, of course, team captain, spokesperson for Rusty Roster, who said himself that he was looking forward to this match specifically, but maybe Rusty Roster not feeling so chipper now that they are down 2 rounds. Figo has set up, does have the big gold gun up in the air. We're sitting at H1 here, so he didn't land that shot, but he's definitely, we can see where it hit there, so he's on the right track, we'll say that.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to be trying to get shots at the beginning stage of the battle, trying to get some good damage down, but the spots have to come out basically onto Synergy. They have to try and find them. They have to try and hit the shells, and if they don't, then that's going to be game over. I think for Rusty Roster, they won't be able to break down the pretty heavy lineup of Synergy with the E50M, with the STBs, with the I7, of course, played by Happy Bubble. So it's all down to the artillery piece, and It's a very inaccurate one indeed, so could be unreliable.
The only team we've actually seen succeed when relying on that artillery piece was Tornado Rocks with the 2v3. That was really nice, but on this map, I would say. So, yeah, we'll see. Not an accurate tank like you did point out, Oliver. Just so people weren't wondering about his bad damage rate or efficiency on that tank now, you know. Figo is still waiting to line it up here. And this is what we see in a lot of these maps, where you have this slower play through. The artillery is an important factor. It's a centerpiece, actually. Just Figo now, lining up. Polswed being lit there for Rusty Roster, and you can see that, well, Synergy have a few plays lit as well, but that shot going to come straight towards Happy Bubble, and you can see the randomness of it. Happy Bubble wasn't even in that position earlier on. He was a bit more forward, and he's actually moved into such a position to cop that shot. The capture is still underway. Polswed does take one particular hit. Dreamlight backing up towards the deep south of the map here as well, just trying to establish some sort of control as Synergy want to close the, I guess, the net on Rusty Roster. Panachin is there, harassing Happy Bubble as always. No reset yet. Mihailov's going to have to come forward in the 2-5-1.
Yeah, he's have to try and get some spots out. Look how much damage they're taking now, Rusty Roster. They did great initial burst, but Shojik and Basista with the Object 140 super careless across that middle of the field.
Yeah, Crespix Moski, the firing squad was ready to go, and even Happy Bubble got a big shot in there. So that's going to stop the capture progress completely, and now neither of those tanks really can risk it going back for that one because they're pretty much a one-shot. Socek is anyway. He catches one in the rear end. That was John Corleone. And it's a good amount of cover that Synergy have over the valley. You can see them just peeking up, taking shots. Even Dreamlike in the south here to keep tabs on that TVP. So, you know, once you jump the hurdle of having to deal with, a capping team, then you can just sort of set up and force them to come to you almost. Synergy, they're in no hurry.
No, for sure. I think they can actually push across the CD line if they really wanted to. But they sent an RU-251 down towards the bottom of that map. They got the STB there in support. The cap has started again, and that TVP has to be careful. The RU-251 with good positional advantage can definitely do a lot of damage, and the STB as well can help him out with that situation. But I think from now on, Synergy, they are far enough ahead in terms of hit points, about 2.5k, 3k. No, about 2k exactly on the mark. So I think they're basically a tier 10 tank head, let's be honest here. You know, average tier 10, 2,000 hit points to play around with. So Synergy can say, we can push across the middle of the field, we can lose a tier 10, we can lose an RU-251 and tier 8, whatever, and we could be in a position to decap. So if things get desperate for Synergy, that's exactly what they'll do.
Figo again, still hoping to catch some of these Synergy players coming up. He's done some damage there. Obviously, Happy Bubble taking that hit before. Ludi Pavlo actually takes down Socek. That was off screen. The artillery shot will thud in there as well and miss Happy Bubble yet again, who is just a prime target for artillery. And Mihailov finds himself caught out in no man's land. He's going to drop down, but Lucky Blast is going to be retaliated on towards by Dreamlike, who takes him close to that one shot there. And Dreamlike will actually just reload in that corner. He knows he's not really under threat right now, especially with John Corleone off in the distance. Lucky Blast can't come towards him. And this is Synergy now just starting to, I guess, pull Rusty Roster apart thread by thread here. You can see there's no hurry for Synergy. They are taking control of the map, though. Rusty Roster, too risky for them to cap. They've got too many tanks that are low. Basista and Polswood were the two that were really had any chance of doing it. And with them being so low now, they pretty much give their lives up if they risk trying to cap again. And here comes the cavalry. It's John and Dreamlike actually making their way through the middle here. Two very key players for Synergy. Looking for some shots here. And they're going to see Basista as well. Perfect. Little bit of a push there. But John is going to fluff that shot. Dreamlike, though, probably less likely to do that. The star players here for Synergy. They're going in for the kill.
He didn't even have the shot. He just played badly. You should always go forwards until you know you can shoot the other player. But yeah, this is going to be surely game over. Batista gets taken down by Happy Bubble, and Prosto also next on the receiving end.
Huge amounts of damage. And that is Dreamlike in the back as well. Prosto, from this angle, doesn't have cover. Yes, he's protected from the eastern valley, but not from a southern push. He'll drop. And Polswood now finding himself a little bit too far forward, especially with Lucy Pavlo coming up through. And look at Synergy. Look at that minimap. Look at the way they push through in a line. They're just starting to encircle now. They're going to envelop the entirety of Rusty Roster in moments. You can see now they've called Panachin out. There's nowhere to go. He's literally being trapped in. He will fall, and that will only leave two tanks up for Rusty Roster. Lucky Blast has 30 health left, and Figo being the artillery. Synergy, beautiful work here, and utter deconstruction of the Polish side.
Exactly. They're just being taken piece by piece down. Even though Figo is hitting those shells in the artillery piece, it wasn't enough here for Rusty Roster. And it's going to be Synergy to walk away with this map quite easily, as both Figo and Lucky Blast are one-shots. Of course, Lucky Blast being pretty much destroyed by the Batjet single-handedly. I mean, it was really taken down pretty low at lots of points in this map. And he might even find another one.
Well, Lucky Blast is lit though as well. No double bushes, just a single bush there. And it's a small attempt, I guess, towards the end there for Rusty Roster, who fall down 3-0 here as well. Not good, considering that both these maps, well, whichever team pick whichever map. The first one was one team's, the second one was the other's. So this is now Synergy just showing that they have a deep map pool, especially being able to play on Steps. Although, to be fair, Steps was their draw card last season. They played a lot in Season 1. They definitely had a good grasp of it ahead of the curve. But Rusty Ross is struggling, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think for them, I mean, they did everything right up until a point, and then they sent the Object 140s across the middle of the map. They got spotted and taken down, basically. Like, that was the biggest mistake. If those Object 140s had stayed alive or stayed with decent HP, they could put them in the cap. They could put one hull down and keep the pressure on, keep Sinji at bay. But they didn't. They basically got them killed, and then, you know, it was pretty obvious for Synergy. They could get tanks on the left. They could take down the TVP at the end there. So there was really no chance for Rusty Ross. They lost too much HP. The artillery piece did as much as it could, but yeah, you can see, I mean, most of the top 7 players are the players of Synergy. I mean, Crespix was playing on the side really well in the SDB, 3.4k, and Lucky Blast had a good game, but not enough.
Crespix averaging about 3 to 3.5k damage a game tonight, so that's pretty darn good. And yeah, I mean, Lucky Blast was there, but he was sort of a bit of that damage being done towards the end wasn't to any great consequence. Panachin able to do something here as well, but I mean, Polswood did 0 damage to the IS-7. Sochek again in the Object 140. So look, this is a player who started really well in the season on the 251. He's been moved to the 140 for this game because Figo was using artillery, and he's got 0 damage. So not a good sign there at all. You know, we see this as well with players like Karitz moved off of the tier 8s or lower tier tanks on towards tier 10s. It's a different style of play, and you know, maybe it's a coincidence, but sometimes it just doesn't work out all that well. Figo there as well, coming out in 8th place, did a little bit of damage there, but only really got 2 direct hits, got some splash damage. But when you're not resetting, splash damage doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. You actually need to kill these tanks. It's fine to do damage over time, but you're not delaying anything. You're the ones trying to cap.
Yeah, I mean, what you basically use the artillery piece to do is try and work the other team down. So when they do push forward to try and reset you, you can easily kill them, or you can get them down even further so you can surround them and actually go in that trench side. So
meaningful damage is what you need.
Exactly. I mean, you know, there's no point hitting IS-7 for 2 shots, taking down to half HP or whatever, when it can just sit, hold down, and be alive for the rest of the match anyway. So why do these guys keep on pressing the TVP-TU concept? It's not that hard. TVP 50-51, guys. Come on, sort it out.
These are the teams, isn't it, when they put in their tank picks?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, anyway, so the TVP VTUs, they're the 50-51s, guys. The tier 10s, not the tier 8s. We don't really see 2 tier 8s being brought in ever, so that's not a thing.
Can't do that, really. Well,
you can, but it doesn't really...
There's no lower limit, but no one's ever done it.
Oh, the Leopard. Nice. Crespix bringing that one in here as well. We've got 2 IS-7s here for Synergy on the attacking side, so that's interesting. Sometimes, an IS stack could almost indicate a second capture point push, the one on the eastern side, but no, Synergy do still want to head towards the north by the looks of things. And Rusty Roster want to cut them off at the pass. You can see them also moving towards that C2 area. And 113 left in the middle as well. So clearly Persista confident with that position. Often do see the lower profile heavies, the 113s or the IS-7s in central positions. Much harder to dig out. No spots here. I think Persista was the only tank that was spotted, and that's still enough to make Synergy want to back away here. I mean, we've got the U50M for Ludi Pavlo, so he's been playing that a little bit. Does have a higher health than the comparable mediums at its tier. Some decent armor at the front. Crespix wants to set himself up here to do some sniping, which should be good to see.
Yeah, I'd love to see that Leopard in action. Definitely one of the more interesting tanks picked. And probably the most German tank you can ever imagine, being just a good sniper. It really does fit that German military doctrine. But at the beginning, I think Synergy was just going for that left side, probably to try and catch out Rusty Roster, even though they would have definitely been better off going to the right side, considering Rusty is all the way up the north. So now they're heading over towards the right, and you can see Rusty as well starting to set up their defense positions there with that 113 in B7. So it's just going to be a matter of time. Mielov, of course, in the RU-251 even, just sitting in the middle, along that middle road, just trying to get some spots out. And Shojek going to have to be careful. And, he's been spotted. So that's actually given Synergy a great amount of information. You can see they've speeded up their egress towards that right side. They're going to put the 2 IS-7s first, set them in the cap nicely. There's no artillery piece from, there is an artillery piece from Rusty Roster even, so they can get the resets. But they need to get them in the right position.
Yeah, and also seeing the 251 there means it's not up on the hill at A8, so it can't snipe down on towards the cap and be a real nuisance here, which is a big bonus for Synergy now. And Dreamlight goes forward, again, Basista being lit for the second time, so Synergy can track his progress here. Basista was initially towards C5 and has moved all the way back, so that should be enough of an indicator to Synergy to know that Rusty Roster have shifted the core of their force. If they're going to move that centerpiece tank so far across the map, they know that they're building around it a little bit here. So Mihailov sets up here on the rocks, hopes to spot maybe some egress across the map. This is really, really good setup here because Rusty Roster, they don't have any tanks at that C8 area. That's a bit of a bowl. Just ahead of Basista, a bit of a defilade in the ground. So tanks can go towards that part and actually get a bit of hull down going on. But Rusty Roster haven't got that far yet. So to even get into that bowl, they need to crest the hill at around B7. And that would mean that they have to take shots here. So Synergy have a great setup here, and all they need to do is nudge the Batchat into the cap and start things off.
Yeah, I think they're going to do that any second now, and those IS-7s are going to start going forwards. But I'm not sure exactly what Synergy are waiting for. Doesn't seem like they're really doing anything right now. Maybe switching a couple of tanks around, that's about it. Rusty Roster's just staying fast, holding themselves in that position. And yeah, I think John might have DC'd or something because he's just sitting in a position which makes no sense at all. He's aiming towards a position that makes no sense at all.
There's no chatter though. I guess
yeah,
there's nothing they can do.
Well, if they were chatting, they would tell the other team that one of their players is disconnected. We're past that 30-second mark. Yep. Both teams are not going to reset, Yeah,
that's right. So you can't, after 30 seconds, do much about it. So, well, we'll see. Synergy could probably get away with it for now, to be honest.
Oh,
John's back. He's on the move. Happy Bubble as well. Had his turret facing backwards at one point there, so I don't know what he's planning. A mutiny, perhaps. Not sure. They're going to head forward anyway. You can see Happy Bubble and John here. So, look, I mean, 2 IS-7s, that's scary. That is scary enough as it is here. They're only really eclipsed in terms of health points by their 113, which has a very, very high 2,300 health points, sorry. But here's a push forward. Double IS-7 coming up. Basista now can hull down, can take some shots, maybe not hull down that well. Happy does take a shot. Basista one in response as well. And here comes the cap volley. The IS-7's moving on. Start things off here. Remember, Mihailov's in the middle of the map. He can spot these tanks coming across. But there's Figo in the artillery again. Good shot towards Happy Bubble, and he's going to be a real menace for these double IS-7s.
Yeah, and it's going to be about 40 seconds until he can reload. You've got about 40 seconds on that M40, M43. So Rusty Roster can't really rely on him to actually get the next reset. They need to be going in with one of those combat tanks to try and stop that. And, especially if Synergy just puts another tier 10 or another tier 8 in there just to speed it up even more.
Basista there looking for a shot. He actually can't see any of Synergy's tanks right now, and he himself is being spotted, so that's not good news at all. Panachin and Polswood lit because Mihailov doing his duty, sitting inside that little push. Now, he is fired, so he does reveal himself here, and he may well go down, but he's an early warning system. That's the point. Panachin's taking some damage to even get across here, so he almost has to sacrifice to go and get a reset. Look at the cover Synergy have. 5 seconds left. There's not going to be enough. There is going to be another artillery shot just in the nick of time. On towards Happy Bubble, but still 23 seconds left on the clock. Now, definitely not enough time for that M40, M43 to fire and reset. But Prosto does at least get the pick off there. He gets Mihailov in the middle of the map. But there's still so much cover here for Synergy. They have so much control. Rusty Roster really have to put themselves into the fire to even have a chance of resetting it. Panachin wants a better angle, but Mirsky and Crespix are just off to the side. 3 seconds, 2 now, and he's going to get taken down. No chance for a reset, and Synergy get it done. Beautiful stuff. Some weeks Synergy are just very, very average. Some weeks, Oliver, it's poetry in motion. Perfectly executed strategy there. I love the Leopard being used, of course. Mihailov in the bush just to sit and watch the tanks coming across trying to reset. They know about the reload cycle of the M40, M43. They knew they could squeeze it in towards the end there. Yep. When you've got 3 tanks putting cap pressure on, that drops it to like 25 seconds every reset. Not enough time for the M40, M43 to reload. And Synergy 4-0. It's a very quick start to the night and a very strong one for Synergy.
Yeah, it looks like the third or fourth 5-0 against Rusty Roster in a row by a team, so not looking good at all. Synergy have secured themselves at least 1 point, so they're sitting up in the same points as KB and Utopia respectively, and then it's Cancer Crew on 17, so we have got quite a big jump between 6th and 5th actually. So yeah, I mean right now Synergy look like they're actually going to try and fight for that top 6 position. I think they can. I think Utopia, probably the better team as we did see last week. They you know, as a Polish team, they've really been stepping up. We might even get to see them at the finals, of course, when we get towards those pre-playoffs. But right now, it's all the Synergy, all aboard the Synergy hype train because they're playing really well. We're moving on to Prokhorovka next. But first, you know, that
Leopard boys.
That Leopard doing a good amount of damage. Of course, it was a capping game, so the damage numbers are pretty low. But the Leopard doing its job in that sniping position.
Yeah, I mean, taking 8 shots. Landing 6 and penetrating 4. Pretty good. You can see here Figo pretty high up here on damage as well for Rusty Roster. Did land those 2 resetting shots, but that's a bit of a problem when you can't rely 100% on Figo. Like you said, Oliver, you talked about the reload cycle of the M40, M43. The rest of Rusty Roster had to step up, and you can see just not a lot of damage. John didn't even have to fire a shot here. It was literally just a warm prop, as it were, moving over towards the cap circle and getting it done there. So really nice from Synergy. It's nice to see that they can take a game without brawling it out or without taking it down to 10 minutes, you know what I mean? It's very, very solid work from them. But we want to hear what kind of work you guys have been up to. The vote, of course, Melly, closes now.
Yes.
But we can at least check in and see who people were voting for beforehand.
Definitely. Currently, the vote sits pretty on 84% for Synergy. And if we have a closer look on those predictions, which I asked you for, we see a lot of 5-1s and 5-0s. So people were on it from the very beginning.
Like a car bonnet.
Absolutely. And
On it like a car bonnet in it.
yeah, yeah.
I like it.
I'm looking at it flood.
It's a bit like your stables in here. Yeah, I dropped a bottle of water. My bad.
But well, Matt will be really happy about it.
Mm.
I'll tell him later. But yes,
Thanks.
people, the vote has closed. Thank you for getting involved. The next vote for our second matchup of the night, which will, of course, be shown after when we finish this one, will be up, and you're invited to participate already to see the trend of the community, and of course to get yourselves into the race for 3 bonus codes. Also use the hashtag WGLEU on Twitter to tell us what's on your mind. If you have any questions, fire them right away. I will ask our 2 experts to answer them for you. And also don't forget our YouTube channel where you can rewatch all the VODs, for example from our Super Match Week last week if you missed it. Well, bad for you, but as said, the VODs are online. All of them, Ollie?
Mm-hmm.
All of them. So head over to our YouTube channel and check them out. Of course, after the show, we still have a lot of tank action left for you guys.
Excellent. In terms of this game, I don't really know how much tank action we have left between Rusty Roster and Synergy, though. 4-0, Prokhorovka next map. It's not even a city map. Rusty Roster, like you said, have had a few 5-0 defeats handed to them in recent times here. This is, I mean, there's not much that puts, to be fair, there's not much standing between them and Strong Siema, actually.
Yep.
It's Rusty Roster just have a win. And they have a tie, well, they've got 5 points. So
they've got a win and tiebreaker win.
Yes, or no, a win
Or
and
win
2
two
tiebreaker losses.
losses, exactly.
Yeah, more likely. So tough stuff for them as well. I mean, they have been involved in a few tiebreakers, not as many as Tornado Rocks. I think they've had 4 in total. But still.
Similar to last season, Tornado had a lot of tiebreaks as well, especially at the beginning.
They throw.
Yeah, I mean, they throw towards the end of the game.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much like. So between Rusty Roster and Strong Siema sitting towards the bottom, both these teams are in trouble. Strong Siema can't get out of relegation position now. It's not actually possible. They have 2 games. They had to win both of them, I guess, to avoid relegation, which is literally not going to happen. Anyway, here's your tank picks here. Prokhorovka, double T110, E5, and M40, M43 this time for Synergy. And Rusty Roster with what I'd like to think is a fairly standard lineup. They're bringing the IS-7, very much standard day at the office here for Synergy. It's all about it's pretty much a matter of rocking up and collecting here. 4-0. Last round coming at you, potentially at least for Synergy if they're going to take it away. They're in red defending, and Socek looking for some spots here in the middle of the map. Rusty Roster being the attacking side need to kick things off with a bang.
Yeah, Rusty Roster doing a pretty standard tactic right now, sending the RU-251 first to spot. They got the STPs at the background, and they've also got the IS-7 of Polsved just in the middle, just going to try and head his way up there. So another about 30 seconds until perhaps Rusty Roster can get control over this middle area. But it's going to take a while. They've also got the TVPs in the background to provide some support, and Happy Bubble might get caught.
Does take a little bit of damage. Not really much to speak of. To be fair, he's on the high ground here as well, and he's only had 2 shots into him, so that's quite fortunate for old mate, and he can back up. And spots are coming in now as well. So Rusty Roster, having taken those shots, are being revealed to Synergy. and they will take this opportunity to do some damage back, and they do. Socek, Persista, Panachin already having some paint scraped off them. Socek's engine was damaged there as well. He got slowed in his tracks, and that's possibly the worst thing that you could have happen actually in a 2-5-1 or any scouting tank, to have your engine go out. He's repaired it. He's been able to get away with 88 points of health, but these double 110 E5s in the middle, love it. Absolutely love it. As Crepo would say, I effing love it. Let's see what they can do, though, as Panachin and Prosto want to move up and actually see if they can challenge those double heavies.
Yeah, Mursky as well in the background. I mean, those two T110E5s can actually just push Polsved off that middle area, and Mursky can start doing damage and actually hit, if he can hit Polsved. It's a hard shot. I mean, there's a big chance of the shell just going straight across the IS-7 and going long towards the bottom of that valley. But eventually he can hit it, or he could just blind towards Lucky Blast and Persista. So let's see what happens. I would say Rusty Roster quite far behind because, I mean, they're just in a defensive position. Socek has taken so much damage. He can't go forwards. He can't spot. He's just in an aggressive spotting bush right now. And that just means Mursky can just work easily.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if Synergy, I feel, just took the foot off the gas a little bit here, they'd probably be fine, but there is a little bit of pressure coming in from the middle of the map. It's an STB1 that's managed to spot, or at least shoot John. And there is a Bat Shad as well at B6, so keep an eye on that one as well. Can assassinate Mursky if need be. He can pop over the train lines really quickly, but he needs to get the spot. That's really important. And without Socek, Rusty Roster can't spot a heck of a lot. Could see, yeah, that's it. Figo now having to go up and spot himself. A little bit of lag in client, guys. Sorry about that. So that was Figo's, I guess, his attempt at trying to see what was over on that part of the map. He actually can't spot anything at A or B2. So he's pretty well, he's pretty rooted, to be honest. There's not a lot he can do from there. Mursky just sitting back here as well. We don't really know about the impact he's had so far. I haven't seen a heck of a lot of big shots come in from him. I mean, the IS-7 is what you should be looking at Polsved, who is still on his feet for now.
Yeah, 15 seconds to aim down with that vehicle. Does take a long time, and it goes short. Doesn't quite hit Polsved, but Synergy has started
closer to Ludi Pavlo, to be fair.
Yeah, could have landed on the back of that engine bay. That would have been disastrous for old Luti. But Synergy with 10,000 HP, Rusty Roster with about 1,400 more. So they're sorry, Synergy with 1,400 more, Rusty Roster down at this point. And again, you know, it's not really the fact that they've lost some HP. You know, I actually thought the Batch would have been able to done more in the background, hit some shells into the back of John and Luti Pavlo, but he bounced a couple. That definitely wasn't a good idea. Persista and Lucky Blast starting to move down that southern area.
I want to see a cap here. Rusty Roster can start something off here as well and actually force Synergy across the map into some weird positioning here. Persista and Lucky Blast pulling out, so this might be them getting in position to fire at Synergy as they do cross, because Synergy have no choice but to literally go from west to east. They've got to go and challenge to capture point number 2, and with 3 tanks to put on it, Rusty Roster can ninja this away. They've got 2 tanks on right now. I'd push the 3rd on, and I think they have done. So now it's down to 30 seconds. So where the hell is Synergy? They're not very close at all. So this is now pressure's on. They've got an IS-7 to get through. Synergy they can ignore him quite happily, but the problem is as they go towards the middle, there's double TVP in the south on that train line now moving up towards the middle of the map. So it's going to be 5 tanks from Rusty Roster looking straight at them here, and Synergy haven't even dealt with Polsved yet. He finally goes down, but Synergy's still not very, very close at all. So I think that was the correct choice for Rusty Roster. Could have seen it maybe even 30 seconds earlier, but they're going to make it happen now anyway. With 4 seconds left, that should be the game. There should be no chance the Synergy can even get the peak.
Yeah, I mean, Synergy definitely let their ball slip on this one, and it will actually be the game, unbelievably. Rusty Roster managed to just cap it out with a super cheeky capping tactic, and do manage to put at least 1 round on the board. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they left that whole right cap. They were tunnel visioned on the tanks that are sitting down and towards that left side. They didn't consider anything, and then they got punished for it. 3 tanks just pushed into that cap, put pressure on it. There's nothing there, and yeah, that was the game. It took an extraordinary amount of time for Rusty Roster to think about it, and the fact that, you know, I'm not sure what was worse, the fact that Synergy didn't do anything about it or didn't actually have a tactic to counter it, or the fact that Rusty Roster took so long to actually go into the cap.
I think the former is worse. The thing is, though, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Synergy's plan A, because they... sorry, it wasn't Rusty Roster's plan A, because they already lost Socek in towards the middle of the map fairly early on, who took a lot of damage anyway, so couldn't really play the spotting role. Initially, we did see Rusty Roster set up to try and fight over the western side. It was only when they started to move their TVPs across from west to east from the very bottom of the map that we could see that they were actually committed now to the cap. This is not the first time we've seen this kind of victory, by the way. It happened 2 out of range or by out of range earlier on the season of Prohorovka. I'm going to say it happened to them here. And they got completely caught out. And it's the same thing. You leave an IS-7 there as well. It's a literal roadblock, even when it's dead. It takes time to deal with him. Synergy had no presence over on that eastern side of the map, and they had no way of seeing what was going on. So it's really their own fault. I mean, it's pretty average, to be honest. A team that's been quite squeaky clean in terms of their play so far, to fall over that kind of hurdle, yeah, a bit average. It shouldn't really ever happen.
No, it shouldn't. That was just, I think that's just lack of preparation and perhaps just not really thinking about what they wanted to do. They had all they also went for that western, the northern side to get the decap instead of just driving across the middle. I think that probably got the reset. Perhaps would have got the reset. It might have been very close, but they decided to go for the northern side, which is probably the safer version. But we have to, of course, see what the difference is between going north and towards the middle. So, I mean, it's not a massive deal for Synergy. They're still a 4-1, so 3 rounds ahead. They can easily just set up now on the attacking side on Prokhorovka and win this next round.
Yeah, so they should be able to tie it up fairly well. The defensive side on Prokhorovka can be a little bit tricky because you don't have many structures to actually use to your advantage. Same lineups, I'm going to say. Just a guess, actually, but maybe less TVPs for Rusty Roster and more STBs, which are very, very good as defensive teams to be able to hold down, or at least poke up over that train line. You have good angle, you can shoot underneath the carts at that eastern side of the map, and they capture point number 2. So Happy Bubble goes across first here. I'd say Rusty Roster don't commit towards the east until they know something's up. Yeah, they hold west. They'll control the middle of the map. Once they realise Synergy has no presence there, they should make that informed decision to set up in the north, have 2 tanks at A6 or something like that, working towards the middle as well. They still have that IS-7 factor here as well. So Polswed would like to get into position as quickly as he can. Exactly,
he's just trying to get into that northern side as quickly as possible. But looks like both teams are setting up on the opposite side of the maps. And to be honest, I think Synergy can just go for that cap as well. They got the M40 on the attack, which is obviously a little bit strange. You don't often see that, as you don't need to get the resets, of course, on the attacking side on this map. Polsved just heading straight across this one. He's just going to go hold down. I think you'll see the rest of Rusty Roster just start to support him from behind those TVPs and those STBs. And Synergy waiting until those 2 T110 E5s, Luti Pavlo and John Corleone, to go towards that northern cap, that cap number 2. I'm not sure exactly what they're aiming at here, considering they won't be able to spot anything because there's bushes and everything. So maybe just hoping that there's not a trap in that situation.
So check there, just getting sideways for a moment, as we say back home. Just trying to spot anything towards the south of the map. So this is definitive now. As soon as Sochek gets to this bush and sits there and sees nothing, then he knows Synergy are on the eastern side. Now, that's going to make you sweat a little bit because you don't know where they're set up. You have no information whatsoever. You haven't seen any Synergy tanks yet this game, really. And you don't know where the artillery piece is. You don't know where he's looking towards. You don't know who's going to be spotting for that artillery. So Polswed kind of has to be the first one to go forward, actually, and try and spot something. And we've seen Ludi Pavlo. I think that was actually an STB that spotted him. And Mersky does have this bush presence here as well. So he won't be spotted. In fact, because he's on the lower ground as well, super hard to see him, super hard to kill him from range. You pretty much have to be up in his grill to take him out. Or up in his M40, M43, if you get the joke. But you still need to get towards him. Sochek as well will be going forward in that 251 towards the south side. And Mihailov here as well has on this island. So you can see there's not a lot of cover here, guys. No bushes really, Oliver. It's just the terrain itself you need to use for protection. Mihailov might go towards the top side and get himself a bush. From there, if he can get double bushes, actually, I think you can ride up the top. You have damn good cover.
Yeah, pretty good cover up in. Actually, we usually see the defensive team sitting up in A0. That's the more normal position here. But yeah, I mean, Synergy, again, they're super methodical, super slow at playing. We've seen that pretty much all their games. It's quite hard to exactly work out what they're waiting for, what they're trying to do here. You can see pings are coming out from Rusty Roster towards the Synergy locations. And yeah, I mean, I think they're waiting until Rusty just drives into their guns, which is, of course, not going to happen. I feel like in general, Synergy had a great opportunity to just get control of this eastern side. They could have gone north with all their tanks to where Prosto is currently sitting. They kind of have control because they got the control of the south because they got their Batchat on the hill, the TVP even. But I'm just not sure exactly what the logic is behind what Synergy is doing right now. Why they didn't just get control over the map instead of putting themselves into that right side village and, you know, starting to receive some damage now.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Mersky there could only have been shot from that position. Now, Dreamlight gave up the hill. He could have shot at Sochek in the first place when he was sitting at J7, but didn't see him, didn't spot him, whatever reason. And now that's a really, really strong position for Sochek. Really strong. Synergy have to push forward and go for a brawl here, which, to be fair, it's a situation they can win. But you can see, here we go. Dreamlike's rocked up and he said, all right, so check, enough of that, mate. You're really wrecking our plans here. You can see Crespic's just limping backwards here. But at least that threat of the 2-5-1 has been dealt with. It's a 6v6 now. Happy Bubble has a good advantage here to take down Figo. Figo's on reload, and Happy Bubble just going to play shooting gallery, but at least Persista in the middle of the map will make him pay for it somewhat. So much so that Happy Bubble breaks his nerve. He loses his nerve, actually. He backs up, even though Persista couldn't have killed him.
Yeah, he also missed 1 or 2 shells there. So this is going badly for Synergy. Again, I think they don't have any direction in this map. They don't really seem to know how to play it. This is more illogical for them, and you can see the HP is just severely in the favor of Rusty Rossa. They've still got quite good positions, but Sister's on reload, and Luti Pavlo just receiving more damage, and it really, to me, feels like Synergy just don't know how to play Prokhorovka.
No, seem very, very average at it here as well. They just kind of let Rusty Rossa do whatever they wanted. 5 tanks are still standing, mind you, so it's within the realm of recovery, but definitely not by much. And that's John and Luti Pavlo getting smacked upside their head. It's Figo to at least finally fall down, but Happy Bubble's lost the most part of his health in order to do that. Good hit towards Panachin. Actually does have a couple shots in towards him. Synergy now way too far behind the 8 ball here. Mihailov is pretty much the only tank here as well, apart from the 110E5 over Luti Pavlo. Mihailov has a lot of things to shoot at. Fortunately, he doesn't have enough shots. He can't fire enough damage away to stop Rusty Rosta here, and they'll actually get the second round. So Synergy, a little bit of a slump for them, a little bit of a lapse in concentration, has actually given up the entire map here. Rusty Rosta probably just wishing it was earlier on in the series.
Exactly. If this happened on Himmelsdorf, there might still be a chance, but we've seen comebacks from this point, so there is a chance. And considering how badly Synergy played this map, or just relying too much on luck, you know, they can actually make a good comeback here. Dreamlike will shoot his last shell, and it will be surely game over. And he does penetrate it nicely, but Panasirian comes and takes him out. So 4-2 in favor of Synergy still. And yeah, I think what they were trying to do is essentially just make a trap, because they think, okay, if we don't get spotted going towards that left side, we can go to the right side, we can sit in towards that eastern village, and we can kind of say, Rusty Rosta, you know, come over to this eastern village, we can kill them all. But again, those positions they were in towards that eastern village, you would have seen the tanks from Rusty Rosta pretty late, you know, even with that position on the hill. And yeah, I mean, Rusty Rosta could just drive straight across the middle of the map, get the positions they wanted to. They could even sneak an RE251 up the hill, take down Muskie in the artillery piece, and then, I mean, that's basically the game. You know, there's no two ways about it. And Synergy just pushing across the middle of the map. Figa did a pretty good job of staying alive in that bat chat. And yeah, that was game over.
The thing is, Dreamlike disappointed me a little bit in that game. He could have done a fair bit more from his position. Being up on that hill where he was, you need to look towards the bottom of the map. You need to look towards the south, because there's always going to be an RU251 that's always going to be trying to gain some ground, trying to get in a good position. Now, you can clip a 251 in a TVP. You can do that. Unfortunately, Dreamlike looking the wrong direction. I actually missed a bit of play. I was looking elsewhere on the map, but Dreamlike was set up to be defending the artillery, and instead he just buggered off and then left the artillery on his own. We saw pretty quickly that the push came straight in towards Mursky, who did no damage, by the way. So not a useful pickup here by any stretch of the imagination. Polesweater this time in the IS-7 was just very, very hard to move. And here you can see the damage now towards the end. So Happy Bubble, quiet one for him as well. The only real bit of action we saw from him was when he was firing at Figo, the other Batchat, but he took a lot of damage. He actually could have got the finish. He had 2 shots left and he backed away, even though the TVP firing at him was out of shots.
Exactly. He probably could have stayed in that position if he wanted to. But yeah, I mean, in general, I think Synergy we've seen as individual players not particularly great. You know, we saw that they've lost already clutch situations. Yeah. That's probably one of the biggest issues. Like, you go on a Synergy player and you could almost always see them missing one clip from a Batchat or a Waffentrager or a TVP. You know, so they do have to improve in that position, and I think they are getting better as we go through the season. But next round's going to be Ghost Town. I still feel like we're just waiting for the inevitable win here from Synergy. Though, I mean, Rusty Rosta being okay on this one. They've played it quite a few times. So we could easily see Rusty Rosta pick the next round up. Yeah,
no. Well, I mean, we could, of course, but their performances on Ghost Town have been pretty average, actually. If I think back, Kanaka Pro took them apart. Oops took them apart. I think that was them that we saw play them. Generally not good performances here, even though this was a Rusty Rosta peak towards the start of the season. I don't know how much of that's changed now. Double Conqueror for Synergy seems to be the agreed sort of lineup on this map. We always see at least one Conqueror. It's a big tier 9, fairly good armor, pretty hard to shift. respectable amount of damage as well. E100 as well for Synergy here. Ghost Town, well, we thought Prohorovka might be the final stand for Rusty Roster, but they've weathered the storm. They've endured the punishment from Synergy, and they've made it through to our 4th map. Getting both rounds here, of course, will mean they force a tiebreaker, but that is still a long way off.
Yeah, it's still a lot of work for Rusty Roster to do. Maybe just slightly too much. I do like the lineup from Synergy with 1,000+ hit points more than their opposition before the match has even started. So, but half a tier 10 tank on its own. Shojek's heading towards the left side for Rusty Roster. He's going to be trying to go hull down side, scraping that WZ 111. And to me, it looks like Synergy just going with a very, very hard push with the Conquerors, the FE215Bs, with all their tanks in towards the northern area. Of course, with those bigger tanks, they cannot go hard down. They cannot go in the cap effectively. I think they're going to be just trying to get as close proximity as possible with Rusty Roster to go for the engagement.
Sojek in the WZ 111. Just back around the corner there. Does take one shot. So remember, every hit the Synergy get that's unanswered puts them further and further in the lead in terms of those health points here. They've actually managed to avoid the Rusty Roster column for the most part. You can see they're actually set up diagonally there at about E5. And they haven't found anything to shoot at, which is a problem for Rusty Roster, who was hoping to be the team that actually received a push from Synergy. This time they actually have to make one because the cap started. They're going to go all together though as well. We'll switch to them in a second. You can see that they have set themselves up here towards the middle. And they're going to roll out as a crew. Basista, though, tracked up immediately there. Not a good start. The E100 not actually connecting the shot there. Dreamlike, unfortunately, making a mess of that one. But Panachin receives a shot in towards the side. It's an autoloader, I think, firing at him. Yep, Creswick's having to go. Gets his 3rd, so 2 out of 3 is not bad from him. And Synergy doing some damage, so enough anyway. Enough to make it worthwhile trades. Dreamlight now is reloaded. He's ready for another shot. He would like to land this one, I'd think. And even Polswood going to get involved. But look at this. This is perfect. Synergy keeping Rusty Roster busy while the cap happens. Rusty Roster can't actually get past these guys here. They need to get a tank through their lines, but they're just so solid here. Synergy don't care how much damage they take right now. They don't care. 3 seconds left on the cap here. Rusty Roster can't get through. Lucky Blast could have tried to breeze past to get the reset, but there it is. Comes in at just the right moment, and this might go wrong for Synergy. They're keeping up on the damage rates. At least they've forced themselves off the cap. Now it's a very much a mess of tanks here as well. It's a 3v4. Well, actually, it's a 3v5 if I think about it there, with 2 tanks off towards the side. Rusty Roster have the numbers, but Dreamlike is still untouched here. The focus seemed to have been going towards Mersky, and despite there being an overmatch in this part of the map, Synergy still keep ahead in health points.
Yeah, but Synergy are not really doing a good job focusing down the tanks. Basista's a 1-shot, Panasirian's a 2-shot. Finally, they do take one of the tanks down, but Rusty Roster are still in this game.
Yeah, that's right. Lucky Blast with 2 shots to come in as well. He's looking for Dreamlike, I'm sure of it. Maybe Mihailov actually might be the focus, as that 50B is really hurting. Lucky Blast and Figo turning the tables on Synergy, and now they're the ones on the back foot. Dreamlight takes a lot of damage. Those autoloaders are on reload, and this is the opening for Synergy. They must make up that health point deficit now in the next 10 seconds, or maybe 20. Otherwise, they're going to be in deep trouble. And it's not going to be any easier with Happy Bubble off the map. Dreamlike taking damage consistently. Luigi Pavlo trying to avoid Figo for the moment, but he's on reload. He doesn't care. And Synergy, you've messed up yet again. Rusty Roster are going to get another round here in just a few moments. Luigi Pavlo, last man standing. And Synergy pretty much take their game, screw it up into a ball, throw it over their left shoulder here, and we're 1 round away from a tiebreaker.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, Rusty Roster now 3 rounds in a row, thanks to Synergy just not playing particularly well. I felt like they put all the balls in the park with trying to go for that cap. Obviously, they were only about half a second away from completing it, and quite often when we see a reset coming in like this, you do end up losing the round when you're in the cap. But I mean, I don't know what Synergy were thinking there, because they had 4 tanks sitting around that corner, 4 versus 4, but they were just shooting random tanks when they came up. No one was going for the low HP tank. There was no, I think they did like 3,000 damage, which was just useless. You should be taking down the guns. You should be going for those kills as quickly as possible. You had a FE215B on 500 HP and IS-7 100 HP. They had another FE215B on 1,000 hit points. And when you've got Dreamlight playing that E100, combine that with an FE215B, and you've already can kill a 1,000 hit points tank very easily. So I just feel like Synergy just, again, I mean, they're getting careless. They've got bad players, and they just didn't manage to make it work for them in that round.
You heard it here first. Some of the individual capacity of the players. Lacking a little bit here on the side of Synergy, like you're sort of saying. Super average. I actually don't think they expected the round to go any longer than that cap. I think they sat there. They just wanted to literally be a roadblock for Rusty Roster. So Rusty Roster said, all right, well, you know what? We're going to just get literally like half a second. Like any later, if that WZ 111 was towards the cap, it would have been over. Would have been over and we'd be done by now. But fortuitously, they managed to get the shot, and it looks like Synergy didn't have a very good contingency plan for that. They split up their force. They had 3 on the cap or 2 on the cap, and then the rest of their team in one spot. It was a 5v4, 6v3 at one point even there as well. So, you know, Synergy didn't set themselves up for a good plan B at all.
Yeah, I mean, technically they had the tanks in a position to kill the other tanks, but they just didn't manage to hit the shots. I mean, that could have been seen as their plan B, their backup plan. But I felt like WZ111 did a really good job there, Shojek. Just he stayed alive for long enough. He got the resets just about in time. So, you know, you can't really argue with that. So it's now going to be Synergy on the defensive side on this map on Ghost Town, and it's going to be Rusty Roster in the attack. And yeah, I mean, it looks to me like Synergy are on the throw train right now. They can easily start to lose these rounds very quickly. And I said, you know, Rusty Roster, you know, played averagely, and they can definitely pick up the rounds as well. I mean, they had no problems. They used these 50Bs effectively. The Conquerors of Synergy were basically useless. They did 1,000 damage each, even though they got that potential to do as much as the tier 10. Yep. Same gun, same HP, same armor as the FUT-15B, basically. So I think Synergy just needs to focus, get the act together, and actually win this next round. Otherwise, we're going to tiebreak already, even though they were 4-0 ahead in that first stage of this match. Yeah,
and it's Cliff as well for tiebreaker, so a map that neither of these teams even picked. So that's just going to throw even more of an element of chaos in towards the mix now. We had a DC before we go into the game, so we're going to have to go back to the garage, guys, and wait for that one here. But we see the Waffentrager E100 being picked there, E100 as well. We won't see any change in these picks, so these are going to be the same picks if we get a restart. 5100 being picked up here for Rusted Roster, that tier 8 slot, so I don't know, Oliver, neither team actually going for Conquerors at all here.
Yeah, no one's going for that one. Didn't work out for both, but yeah, Waffentrager is going to be used in this next round. Got an AMX 5100, always interesting there, 1.8k damage you can do with that one, so you can definitely blast down a tier 10. But of course, the slow time between shots, like 3 seconds, HP definitely doesn't help. You know, we've got a lot of problems with that 5100. So, yeah, just waiting for this round to get ourselves back up into scale. One of the players from Synergy had a little problem with his computer.
I think, DC.
Disconnected, yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, it's a pretty pivotal moment for there to be some problems coming up here for Synergy, not just DCs, but the game plan itself. You can see here on our timeline, I mean, it's the first game of the night. No one really thought this would go this close. It's Rusty Roster with 1 win. One clear win, and then I think 2 tiebreaker losses here. So it's just it's struggle town for them. Yes, it's enough to keep you out of relegation when you've got a team that's going to go 0-11 or 0-9, whatever. Yeah, I think 0-9. A strong CMA down the bottom here, but still not a good record. And Synergy now, they're beating themselves. Honestly, I really think so. We saw Prohorovka was just seriously average, very one-dimensional tactic here on Ghost Town, where it's been a map that Synergy actually have had some good stuff to show. I don't know what it is. It shouldn't be cockiness by now. It shouldn't be complacency when you already have lost 2 rounds. You lost both Prohorovka maps. Maybe, I guess we went to Ghost Town and Synergy like, well, this is our map again. We're back on our map. Let's do our thing. But Rusty Roster aren't going to take this sort of stuff laying down here. And we have this weird situation. 4-3's probably one of the most awkward scorelines, Ollie, because it all rests on one map. It can either be the win for Synergy or the tiebreaker going in there as well. So a huge amount rides on this next round. It's probably the most important one of any series. We'll have to see now, of course, is we do see Synergy on the defense. Probably what they would prefer on such a pivotal point here. Rusty Roster, if I was them, I'd go for something wacky, pull something out, see what you can make happen there. But we are waiting for everyone to take their tanks in a moment.
I mean, Synergy was a team that won 5-1, 5-2 against Kazakh. So, I mean, they've got results against some of the better teams here. So I'm surprised that they are struggling so much here against Rusty Roster. And, you know, that's the thing, though, about 768. You can just lose 1 or 2 rounds and suddenly you can start diving. You have your first 2 good maps. You get 4 rounds on them. You have the next 2 maps, which are your bad maps. You lose 4 rounds. You know, it can happen very quickly if you don't stem the tide. So, yeah, I mean, I think Synergy just needs to get their act together, say, okay, we're going to win this match, and we're going to go forwards. And for Rusty Roster, they have nothing to lose right now. As you said, they should just go in, go aggressive, try and bring something out which is a bit wacky, and try and get at least 1 point out of this match. It would be great. I mean, they would keep themselves away from that automatic relegation zone in 12th place. Of course, that's, you know, almost certainly going to be strong Siema. But yeah, I think so. I think I think Synergy should be able to pick up this next round. Yeah, we're just waiting for Dreamlike, as you said.
Still DC'd as well, so we will have to check in on how long exactly that's going to be taking here as well. But I mean, in the meantime, guys, as well, we always encourage your involvement in chat as well. Shout out to our friends from the Russian region as well who joined us here on the stream earlier on. Now, Melly, we did call that the vote had closed earlier on in the show. However, we have a bit of delay on stream, so still a bit of maybe chance for that to fluctuate. I'd say that would have been probably the same from when we called it.
Yeah, wait a second. Sorry. I was just keeping my eyes on chat. And yes, we said it's 84% when we're having the fifth round, and it actually jumped up on 86, so only 2% points more, but still, as mentioned before, a lot of 5-1s, a lot of 5-0s, so people were kind of predicting that one-sided match, which it doesn't look like anymore. So I'm really, really worried. Actually, did we ever have a team recover from a 4-0 deficit?
I think so, yeah. I think we've had one of those this season. 4-1, 4-0. I think we've had that. Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
Pretty sure we've had that before, or at least it's gone 5-3 or 4-all, something like that.
Yeah, we had some 5-3s. I mean,
I don't think anyone's come back actually from like a 4-1, 4-0 deficit and gone on to win the match, but I think they come back to get like 1 point in a tiebreaker or something.
I think our first game, our first match week was Kazna versus Connect Broad, and they were 4-0 up, and it ended up being a 5-3 win. So, yeah, still not quite, full comeback. So there's a lot to be said about that coming back from such a deficit. I mean, there are a lot of different maps now as well. So it means like you can't just get on your map and blast your way through. Yeah. You've got to still maybe, to get 4 rounds, it needs to play over 2 maps. It needs to be 2 good maps. And if they're the 2 last maps, as in maps 3 and 4, one of them is your map, one of them is the other team's map. So it just makes it that much harder, really. When you're winning rounds on your opposition team's pick, gives you a buffer, it really does. Then all you need to do is win all the rounds on your maps and you'll win the game. Anyway, jump in. Here's your tank picks yet again. No changes, of course. 62A for Rusty roster. Will probably be maybe towards the north, try and hold down a little bit here. Plenty of FE215Bs and an IS-7.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got another reset because Polsberg can't click on the right tank, clearly. There's about, what is there, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes there for him to pick the right one, and he still managed to click an ST1. Brilliant. So 10 out of 10, these are top level World of Tanks players here with the craniums of ants.
Guys, what's going on? Seriously, we're doing this for how long now? Like, get your asses in game, boys. Get the right tanks, for the love of God. We're going to have one more reset to jump in, and then I think we just disqualify Synergy stuff. I mean, the next couple of rounds going to go. Just give it to Rusty roster anyway. They worked hard for it. They brought back 3 rounds in a row.
That's good enough.
I don't know how you guys at home feel. Maybe the people who voted might be a bit upset, but I don't know how many people would have voted actually for a tiebreaker of 5-3. Probably not many, actually.
If any.
I don't know any. Okay, sorry.
No one knows. What is that? You just try and sing on stream?
Yeah, he's not really singing it. Scribe. How many dudes you know roll like that? What? That's where not many, if any, comes from. You're banned from the stream. You're banned from the show. Melly, how many people voted for a 5-4?
Not a single one.
Vote now,
totally.
quickly. If you vote now.
No, it's closed.
If you vote now.
It's closed, man. Second map.
You can't.
Second map's done.
Rip. See, and it's funny because I hear Melly say literally the same thing every show, and I still get it wrong. Brilliant.
Yeah, look, that's why I repeat myself that often.
How many dudes throw like this? I don't know. Let's see what Synergy can do here. Let's just get a camera off me, for the love of God, and jump into game in a few moments. Of course, tank picks, would you believe, are the same. Same picks, of course, no STB1 this time.
Polsberg's an IS-7 instead of an ST1, which was his biggest problem last time.
Yeah. He played well in the IS-7 on Prohorovka. Actually, that second proc outing for Rusty roster was very, very good for him. So let's see what he can do. Persista is in the 62A. My favourite tank in the game. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good tank to play, but Gross are just not quite good enough with it to be a pro level
62A player. It likes to burn.
It does.
Well, I don't know. I think he did show us some good stuff in his little clip. We might even show it in the break, that mid-air shot with a 62A. That was pretty cool. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he did it on one of the on stream once as well. On one of the matches, I think it was. I can't remember which one it was. Well, Cliff, it was, I'm pretty sure.
Persista can come forward and actually have a lot of protection here. There's no artillery for Rusty roster, for Synergy, sorry. So Persista has a lot of protection with a very, very thick
love and affection
hull. Turret. He messed me up on that one. Whether he's right or wrong, ladies and gentlemen, cap has been started, and we do see Sochekov That distance in the 5100 here as well. He's up behind Basista, so a bit of support being offered. Rusty Roster going for a similar strategy, except they're not pushing so deeply into the streets here. They're actually going to let Synergy come close enough to probably fire at the cap here. They want to catch him on the corner. That's why Dreamlight goes first. He's going to soak some damage, hopefully bounce a bit as well, and Crespix can come in the second line. He can follow up there a little bit. It's even a side scrape actually for Dreamlike. So there you go. Pretty good actually. To be fair, Dreamlike shrugs off a lot of that damage. Crespix opens fire, and this is where it's going to start to hurt. Panachin going down to the one shot. Crespix now looking for a new victim here as well. This is so scary. Crespix now, one more shot for him. He backs off. If he gets a second reload cycle, it's just disgusting. The amount of damage he can do. Filthy. Rusty Roster getting absolutely mashed here as well. Despite a lot of damage back towards Happy Bubble, it's still not enough to make up such a huge deficit, about 4k at this stage. And that's because the Waffentrager gets 4 out of 5 shots landed. They come around the corner quite nicely. Their reset did come in, I think, but they're going to need another one in a moment. They've got Basista and Polswood both on the cap. Basista peaks for God knows what reason. I don't know why. And he gets hammered down. He puts him on a one shot, lets the cap reset. Polswood also taking hits too.
And Happy Bubbles actually come around the corner from the opposite angle, but Figo's just waiting there in the 50B. Prosto also getting into the action. I'm not sure exactly why Shojek went down. I mean, he's a 5100 and he was just trying to go for head-on exchange against E100s, FE215Bs and the Waffentrager. He should have just come from a different area. So yeah, Synergy far ahead in this game. Happy Bubble. Crespix is now going to be coming off reload any second now. And when he does, it will surely be the end of days for Rusty Roster.
Yeah, that's providing he has targets to fire at by the time he's ready to go. He will round the corner. Prosto is the one he's looking at the wrong end of the Waffentrager's gun. As Prosto, he goes down. Ludi Pavlo picks up Lucky Blast as well, and Crespix is on a bit of a hunt now. Looking for Figo, he'll be just around the corner. He does have him lit, so one shot into the gullet, and that'll be done. Deal. Synergy tied up with a nice bow eventually. 5-3. Took us a while to get there. Could have gone either way, to be fair, but Rusty Roster just seemed to fall flat like a souffle made improperly in that last round. And you'd have to be a little bit disappointed about that after coming so close.
Yeah, I mean, there were 3 rounds in a row. They got back. Synergy, terrible Prokhorovka. One round, I thought, on Ghost Town maybe realistic because, I mean, Rusty Roster have been okay on Ghost Town, so they had a chance. But yeah, I mean, it was a super strange map. We had like 4-0 at the beginning, and then we had 3-4, and then we had a 5-3. Like, I mean, if you don't concentrate on that match point, things like this can happen. Like, you get lax. You can see Synergy. They got capped on Prokhorov because they had all their tanks on that western side and didn't have anything on the eastern side. Like, there's a lapse in concentration to not really, paying enough respect to your opponent, I believe. So, but they do get it done. 3 points for Synergy. It's going to put them up into 6th place, I do believe. Obviously, we've got a lot more matches to go tonight, so things could change as well.
Yeah, I mean, while that's definitely bad news in general for Rusty Roster, it's not really particularly good news for Synergy as well. They had the 4-0. They slumped a bit as well. And this kind of performance against the 11th place team doesn't bode well for their campaign to break the top 6. Yes, they get 3 points here. It puts them pretty close. I think ahead of Utopia. They will actually push them into 6th place, but Utopia still have a chance to come back. They're playing later tonight as well, so if those two teams stay in step, anything could happen. Utopia Penta actually will be that match as well, coming up last. But there you go, Crespix, good damage. Dreamlike as well. Actually soaking a lot of damage as well, but he stayed alive long enough to make 5 shots. It's a recipe for success, and Dreamlike definitely got it done.
Yeah, he did. He was pretty good on this one. Finally, just stepping up for his team. He's not really playing those lighter tanks these days. I mean, I think the whole of Rusty Roster just played badly in that one. I mean, the 5100 poking, everyone poking and just getting destroyed by a very one-dimensional push from Synergy. But they do get it done. And to be honest, I mean, Synergy do put themselves in that position to go into the top 6, to play in those playoffs like they did in Season 1. They got to play KB next match day 11. So anything can happen for them. And KB have been on a pretty average form, but I would still say that would be KB's matches just based on today's performance by Synergy.
Yeah, I would say so as well. We'll have to see how that sort of shapes up towards the end. Melly, there it is, 5-3. We were sort of starting to theory craft a little bit about the possibility of actually seeing that tiebreaker. It didn't happen in the end, but I think our fans still got a decent game.
Absolutely.
Worth time.
And well, if you just tuned in, bad for you, but luckily we do have our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WGLEU, where you will find the VODs of this very play day in the next few days, tomorrow even, right?
Yeah, it should be tomorrow, yeah.
It should be tomorrow. So subscribe to our channel to get a notification via email as soon as we put up new video content, if it's the VODs from the past match days, or even highlight videos, for example. Just roam through our, well, it's not really a library, it's not really, well, our channel to see the past VODs and the past video content stuff we uploaded. Just check it out, and also, as said, subscribe to it to get notifications as soon as we upload new stuff. And yes, the vote has closed after the 4th round and was sitting on 86% for the past matchup. Congratulations to Synergy at this point. The next vote is already online, so head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WGLEU, to get yourselves involved. Click the team vote button to get forwarded to our voting app, where you can simply choose regarding team logo, team you favor, of course, and then predict the exact scoreline in the little text field below. Send it off, hope for the best, and if you manage to be one of the fastest 3 correct predictants, do you even say predictants?
Predictions.
Predictors.
Predictors. Okay, so if you manage to be one of the 3 first correct predictors, you might win a bonus code containing 300 gold and 3 days of premium, and a Großtraktor and a garage slot. So get involved. I'm waiting for your votes, and currently we do have a pre-result, let's call it that way. 71% for Oops.
I'd give
that's
them that.
right.
I'll give them that. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is your little prelude towards our next match, of course. We'll leave it there before the break, and when we return, of course, game 2 of the night. Going to be Connect Abroad versus Oops, Battle of the Rookies. Oops with an absolute breakout season. KB middle table, still with some good results. We'll see who comes out on top after the break.